everyone, welcome to FGME Cast for your Thursday night, and Thursday night is ANZCAR Cup night, and it is the chase, the third last round of the chase, and we are looking forward to this one. I am joined by a much more vibrant Carl with you this evening. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Stuart. Yes, good evening, everybody. Feeling a lot better today, thank you very much. Yes, could sound a bit better as well. So yes, I wasn't just unexcited last night. I was feeling a little bit rough, unfortunately. So yes, as is can happen. But we are back here at Kansas Speedway, of course, where pretty much the steepest thing in this state is, of course, the speedway itself, a very flat state. And we are here for, as you say, the Cup. We're getting down to the tail end now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, most definitely so. We've got just under 5 minutes of practice to go. We've got a ripping interview coming up with Hamish Gallagher after qualifying as well. And then we head into 130 laps here. Nice wide open track. And as Gail's just saying as well, welcome Gail as always to the stream. A bit of wild and woolly weather around. We're based in Victoria. Carl, you're in South Australia. You've had 4 seasons in one day, as have we. And that weather is still around in Victoria, so we're hoping that we get through the stream unscathed. We do pop off the air. That may be why, but at the moment, touch wood, all things good. And let's hope, Carl, after obviously a completely different track tonight, but after a rather caution-filled night last night, let's hope for some good, clean racing.
Yeah, we can hope for it here. Kansas usually is a pretty decent track to race on. Obviously, it's a bit bigger, it's a bit wider. It's that more cookie-cutter design, so to say, back to the 2.4 kilometre track. So, you know, fairly wide open track. Obviously, you can make a few mistakes here. It is easy to lose the rear end of this Cup car, actually. If you are running a little bit too hard, a little bit too low, you're going to see the drivers running a high line tonight. I'll go a bit more into that when we do a bit of a run through qualifying. But hopefully we will see some good, clean racing out here tonight, and have a nice early one. Get ready for the next week to come. But obviously we'll be looking forward to the racing because the Cup itself is getting rather close. The chase has gotten down to the wire, and it is last season's champion in the lead of Edward Foster having a stellar end to his season, managing to get an 8-point lead over the man tonight that we're interviewing, Hamish Gallagher, who has just been Mr. Consistency this season. Third place is Jason Martin, 19 points off the lead. He's in the joint position with Josh Mickelmore, so we've got a Mitch Motorsport train up there at the front that can definitely take out this championship. Michael Skurlock sits in 5th, 26 off the lead. Then we have Andrew Dyson, the first of the DPR entries, in 6th, 41 points down, with Danny G, the last of the Mitch entries, in 7th, 44 off the lead. Joshua Carroll-Walden, 51 down for Natari. Matty Raymond for SRM down in 9th place, and he's joint in that position with Luke Traher for Nightcall Racing, 64 points off the lead. And then at the back it is Neil Pearson, who is just sort of cutting the lawn a little bit in the number 9, 67 points off the lead despite having a stellar start to the chase. The rest of the chase has gone a bit awry for him, unfortunately.
It's interesting that you touched on our top 2 drivers tonight being Foster and Hamish Gallagher. Very much the 2 drivers that we were looking at last night in the Thunder Series as well, contesting at the top of that championship too. So it is a calling card of a good year's racing for both of those drivers. Of course, Foster did take out the Truck Series earlier in the year, and Hamish Gallagher is looking for back-to-back Xfinity Thunder Series championships as well. So a strong year overall. I mean, I think if you asked Foster whether or not he felt like his Cup form was strong all year, he would definitely and categorically say no. But it all proves again, like last year, that this is where it all counts. It's all about managing your run and managing to get into the chase, and then really, you know, those consistent performances pushing you to the top of the field.
Yeah, that's it. It's consistency is a real key feature of a championship campaign, of course. But in a chase situation, of course, it's a little bit different because things do get that sort of slight reset. And it is odd that it's sort of a mirror of the Xfinity at the moment, where Gallagher is trying to defend against Foster in that championship. So those two have had a stellar season all year round, and are both battling it out for different championships at the same time. So they're having to campaign in two different series, and they're campaigning against each other as well. So that puts a little bit more stress on the drivers, and it adds that little bit more to both of the series, because we've got two championships where either of those two men can win.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, should we be surprised, given that the Thunder Series echoes the chase in the rounds and where it's hosted, that we've seen strong performances from those two drivers across that series, and that's being replicated here?
Well, that's it. They've had a very strong end to the season. In Foster, of course, with the Truck Championship, that went well, but they didn't have the start of the season that they would have wanted. And that really affected people like Gallagher and Foster, who were both on the edge of missing out on the chase sort of halfway through the season, and then built their way up back into contention. Gallagher, of course, having a stellar season, finishing third overall in the regular season. But for the chase, he had a very good run at the end of it.
Well, it's all to play for here tonight, as we're going to stick on board with Mirko Dortnak, who is actually celebrating his 200th start here tonight in ANZCAR. So he's going to get the pleasure, or should I say we're going to get the pleasure, of riding on board with Mirko as he heads out in the 62 entry to set his qualifying time tonight.
Yeah, Mirko Donovic is going to have a great run tonight. His 301st run tonight. His 201st run tonight, of course. His 200th was last night. So here we go for a lap around Kansas. So he's going to chuck down low here to try and get some speed out the corner for this first qualifying run. Now you're going to want to try and keep a slightly generally you're going to keep a slightly lower line for qualifying, just because you're going to want to take as much out of those tyres as possible. We've got to be careful of the back end. It steps out a little bit there for Mirko. Very easy for it to do at this track. It does tend to get a little bit tail happy down on that low line, but that's where the speed is for qualifying. The second set of banks in turns 3 and 4, a little bit less cambered, so higher camber for the first two corners, a much lower camber for the sort of back two, so they tend to be a little bit you need to lift off a little bit for those ones. So the front ones, you can generally take a lot more speed into them, about 17 to 20 degrees of banking. The front stretch, being the tri-oval that it is, has about 9 degrees, but this section here you generally need to lift off a tiny bit to get through here properly. The first set of corners are very easy to run flat. Gets out there, nice clean lap from Mirko. What's this going to do for him? We'll soon find out as he sets a time that's good enough for, was P4 but now dropped him down to P7.
As Edward Foster goes fastest with a 30.52, equal with teammate Joshua Carroll-Walden. Both of those have been trumped by Joshua, well done Stuart. Jason Martin, like I don't know his name, 30.49 up in provisional pole position. Josh Mickelmore yet to complete his second flying lap. Let's quickly have a look at Josh as he gets halfway through this second lap to see how he goes setting his time.
Absolutely cracking lap there by Jason Martin, of course. In qualifying, you don't get the advantage of the draft, of course. So when they were out there beforehand, they were getting a little bit of an advantage from that draft. Just get sucking the car along a little bit. And in the solo qualifying, you don't have that advantage. So for Jason to set a 30.487 is absolutely ridiculous.
I think faster than any of the times we saw in practice, Carl. So he's absolutely scorched it.
Just a little bit slower than some of the leaders, but just by a couple of thousandths of a second. Right. Really not much in it. So
not much in it at all.
No. I think the fastest we saw in practice was Skurlock with a 30.465. So that, again, Jason just absolutely nailing that qualifying run there.
A couple of things to touch on tonight, Carl, we haven't spoken about yet for next year, but one of them is this man here, Daniel Hedersheet, jumped up, of course, to the main game, took a win on his maiden race. He's just put the Race Magazine 035 Natari Autosports entry on P5. So in terms of teams, we've got 2 Mitch Motorsport, 3 Natari cars at the front in our top 5, so things probably couldn't have gone much better for those two teams. They would have preferred, I think, the Mitch boys to get Josh Micklemore up the top, but that hasn't quite happened. Danny G still going, so they do have a chance of slotting another in. Let's jump on board with him, the assassin. Danny G making his way to complete his second flying lap. How does he go? No, just going to start in the mid-pack, so a good start there for Natari, slightly better than the guys at Mitch, so that will be what they would have been looking for, and certainly what the Godfather Edward Foster would have wanted from his team.
Barry Neal just having an absolute cracker of a lap there, getting himself up into P5, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, just having to batten down our hatches as we've just been hit by another storm here in Adelaide. But no, good lap from him. And as you say, Natari getting a lot of their cars up there and splitting the Mitch cars up the front. That's good news for them.
Most definitely. So Justin Witcher hasn't set a time, nor Greg Spence or Jaden Russell. And that is going to conclude our qualifying here. So we're going to jump into the changeover interview here. And we've got one Mr. Hamish Gallagher, the 13. Do we find out the truth behind the obsession with one Taylor Swift on the liveries? You'll have to listen to the interview and find out, and we'll swap over into the race server now and be back with the grid to get this one started here on FGM eCast for the ANZCAR Cup Series, The Chase. We'll be back with you after this interview.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight I am joined by Mitch Motorsport driver, the number 13, Mr. Hamish Gallagher. How you going, Hamish?
Good, Carl. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you up here. I mean, we always love to get a bit of a chat to you, of course, and we've been getting more chats with you often as well. You've been having a pretty good season so far.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. I always find it hard to be objective about myself, but we've had a reasonable year. This year's really been about development for me. Like last year, it was about just relearning all the basics, and this year is just about refining it. So obviously, I had a lot of help with Josh, Jason, and Daniel. That's been a big assistance for me this year.
Well, that's one of the big things, of course. You're the newest driver to Mitch Motorsport, of course. How has having a team around you been a help this season?
Oh, obviously, it's huge. I was glad to be quite happy just running by myself again this year. I ran NIS for a lot of time before ANZCAR, just by myself, so that's what I was used to. But I had a few offers at the end of last year, and it was very flattering to get them, but I was just, thanks, but I'm quite happy just doing my own thing. But then I got an offer from Josh. I was like, you're not going to say no to that. So it'd be like getting an offer from Roger, from Penske or whatever. So no, that's I had a huge amount of respect for them last year, just the way they conduct themselves. So that's more than anything. I was happy to join and work with them, and but no, they've been a big help. It's been I think we've done really well as a team this year. It's been one of our biggest strengths.
Look, definitely. I mean, look, you've got all of the cars up in the chase as well. Yourself and Josh Micklemore, of course, the highest of the Mitch Motorsport drivers. Well, coming into the chase at least, obviously finishing P3 in the regular season. That was a really good run for you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. It was a bit of a weird season because they had a couple of DNFs right at the very start. And so I was buried down in 30th or whatever and spent all year just trying to claw my way up. And it's not really till the drop round started kicking in, all of a sudden I found myself up there. It was a bit, okay, it's a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I think there's pretty much everyone in the top 10 had like really good runs for a period, and they'd rack up a few wins, but then they'd have a few off weeks, whereas I've just been slow and steady, Porter's first to here or whatever, and it just tipped away all year, and hasn't been spectacular, but it's just racked up points, and I guess that's where you end up.
Well, that's it. I mean, the biggest thing for you this year has been consistency, I think. I mean, obviously at the start of the year, not so much, but you've had a really consistent year. And in the chase, obviously, you're still winless. I mean, a bit of a stinging barb there, just to remind you of that one. But you still yet to get a win this season in the Cup. But you're sitting second in the Chase Championship, 8 points off the lead. And that's just been epic consistency.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I think that's really been my motto this year, is just you got to finish races, and sometimes, to get a win, you've got to make risky moves or desperate moves, and that's not really my motto. I'd rather finish second and back the points rather than risk a win and end up 20th or whatever. Especially if the chase, that's really how it's based around. You got to be consistent. So so far so good, but we're coming into a few short tracks at the end of the season here, and things will get turned on their head pretty quick.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it can get changed around so quickly, of course. I mean, we've seen you successful in some of the other series, of course. In Thunder, you've been having a fantastic season this year, and of course, taking out the championship last season as well. So, it's not been a bad year for you, all in all.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Yeah, no, it's been good. I've been really enjoying it.
So, I'm gonna ask. I've asked a few drivers this one. What got you into motorsport?
I guess just like most everyone else, I've always been into cars, and so that just gets you into motorsport, and motorsport gets you into racing video games. It's just sort of goes from one to the other. Like for me, it was originally, like probably most other people, it was F1 and the V8s, and my favourite driver was Montoya, and so when he ditched F1, I sort of followed him over to NASCAR, and that's really all where it started for me on the oval stuff. And I've always loved it since then, just the way it is, just how it's kind of rough and raw, and I just love that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's where I come from.
Oh, look, another Montoya fan is not a bad thing. I've been a big Montoya fan back in his F3000 days. I was following him and just showing my age there, of course. But absolute fantastic driver, and good one to base it off of.
Oh man, a good taste, Carl.
That's it. Look, we've both got some good taste, and I mean, you've obviously got some taste in music as well. I mean, you tend to have a certain singer on your car.
I should have known this would come up. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think about where it all started. It's been so long now. I think it was Tony Kanaan. It's his fault. Like years ago, he ran a paint scheme with her on it, an IndyCar. And I remember seeing that thinking, oh, that's pretty funny. So I went on Trading Paints, looked it up, and nobody had done a paint with it. So I just put it on my Cup car and went out and did NIS, and people had a good laugh and thought it was funny, and then started getting requests from people saying, hey, can you adapt it for this car and that car? And it sort of just snowballed from there, and it's pretty much just became part of my iRacing identity at this point. So not the only one who does it. There's a Twitch streamer in the US who does it as well. He runs some of my paint schemes every now and then. So I've always just been a fan of showing a bit of personality of your paint scheme. Just have a bit of fun with it. Like you do it a bit as well, Carl. Like when you run your World War, you're a bit of a World War history buff, and I see you sometimes run like your the World War bomber stuff, paint schemes. The BMX Bandit's been getting into it this year. The other Mitch boys do it a bit as well. Like we got Jace has got the purple for his AFL. We got Dan's got the 24 for Jeff Gordon. The whole paint scheme overall is very dirt style, which is Josh's background. So the more the merrier, I reckon. Do that kind of stuff.
Well, that's one of the great things about. One of the great things about sim racing, obviously, is you can express yourself with your paint schemes a little bit because you don't have the sort of you're not beholden to your sponsors as much.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, like even in real life, in the American motorsports, they generally have a lot more fun with their paint schemes. When you look at the Europeans and the Aussies, they're very kind of stale and corporate. But the Americans sort of have, they're a bit more adventurous. So just kind of bring that over. That's how it is in real life. So why not do it in sim racing as well?
So was Montoya the one that got you into NASCAR style racing, or were you into that beforehand?
I've always had like an interest in it, but it was such a big barrier entry because everything's so different. You're like, where do you start? Like nothing's the same. But yeah, once Montoya, I sort of followed him over, and you sort of just learn the ropes. And then when Ambrose came across as well, we started getting a lot more coverage over here because it was quite hard to actually watch the stuff back in the day here. But I think that helped a lot, made it a lot easier to follow. So between the two, that's probably where it started for me.
Yeah, I remember when I first came to Australia, it was a bit of a horror show trying to find motorsport on TV. I was like, where is everything? So yeah, I do understand.
It's like the BTCCA. That's one of the best series in the world, but it's so hard to follow. They're just like bits and bobs you find on the internet. But yeah, that's easily one of the best series in the world. It's like a hidden gem.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, I'm a big fan of the BTC back in the mid-90s, of course. I was a huge Nigel Mansell fan there, and that was again showing age there. God, I'm so old these days. But back to racing, of course, and look, this season, I mean, only a few races coming up. We've only got 3 left for the chase, of course. What's your feeling going into those final races at Kansas, Martinsville, and Phoenix? What do you think is going to be the track that's going to suit you best?
Honestly, I think I like all three. As far as I generally don't like the intermediates, like 550 horsepower package I hate. But at Kansas, at least, it's one of the more interesting intermediates. Um, then the short tracks with the 750 horsepower Phoenix and Martinsville, I should love, but those races can often be chaos, which you've just seen tonight in the Thunder. But yeah, so yeah, anything can happen. But like Phoenix, they had good speed earlier in the year, and I can't remember Martinsville. They usually do, as long as they don't get wrecked. So I'm looking forward to the end of the season. I've gone through all my worst tracks like Vegas and Texas and all those. I don't like those tracks at all, but I'm glad those are behind us. And yeah, looking forward to the end of the year.
And obviously, not to put the curse on you too much, but you are currently sitting behind Foster in the championship. Obviously, you're battling him in the Thunder series as well, so it's almost like a battle on two fronts at the moment. But do you feel confident that you've got a chance to take out the cup this season, or are you just sort of hoping for the best?
I don't know if hope's the right word, but we're just going to do the best we can every week. I'm sure Edward will as well, so it should be. Hopefully, if everything stays nice and clean, we can just have a good hard battle these last three races. That's the most important thing. We're here to have clean, hard, fair racing, which you can't really do in officials. That's why league's so good, and that's what I'm here for. And whoever does the best job will be the champion, and that should be well deserved.
Look, I will wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, we get to chat to you by the end of tonight's broadcast as well. Thank you for joining me tonight, Hamish. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Carl.
Hamish Gallagher there for Mitch Motorsport. So we'll head to the broadcast now.
So there you go. Question answered. It is a livery inspired by one of Hamish's favourite drivers. And there you go. That's such a simple answer. Why has it taken so long for us to squeeze that skerrick of information out of Hamish?
So yeah, it's been a long time coming, that one, and look, we finally got it out. Of course, Tony Kanan's trying to remember which race he ran it in now. It was I think it might have been Belle Isle, with the beautiful 1989 livery on it. So with the DW12, I think it was at that time. Yeah, having to use brain cells that aren't normally used. That was painful.
Just activating through the cobwebs.
Yeah, that's it. Going back to obscure knowledge of random stuff. That's one of those obscure things that sits in there somehow.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left here. In fact, we've got only about 10 seconds to go before we head off into get things done proper. And Michael, I see you've jumped into the chat. Welcome for another evening. Ambrose had Watkins Glen licked in his stint with NASCAR. That wildly Aussie personality fit right in. Yeah, absolutely he did. It's the closest thing to obviously what he was used to, driving a V8 supercar around the circuits in Australia. He was always odds on to win, and that probably helped boost the profile of NASCAR in Australia as well.
Much like at the moment with IndyCar being
Absolutely.
boosted by Scotty Mack. I mean, it's strange that it's taken Scotty McLaughlin going over there to boost it while we've had Will Power and Scott Dixon dominating for the past decade. But it's nice to finally see some love for IndyCar.
I think it's just because there's not a lot of fanfare around Dixon and Power, and I reckon if you asked a lot of casual motorsport followers, they'd think that they were American.
Yeah, no doubt.
So obviously Scott McLaughlin, with all of his popularity in the V8 supercars, certainly transpires across then into IndyCar. I mean, I've taken a more active interest in IndyCar. I've always had a fleeting interest in it. Part of it's subscription based because I can now watch it where I never used to have access to it. But and also time zone. Like, you know, I'm crazy enough to get up at the wee small hours of the day to watch the Premier League, but that sort of pushes my luck if I start combining overseas motorsport in with it as well. So, yeah, certainly Marcus Ambrose couldn't get a lot more out of him on the oval stuff, but certainly Watkins Glen, you expected him to win that, and you probably expect Scotty Mack to be strongest on the street circuits initially as well.
which of course he hasn't been. His
No.
strongest performance was on the oval.
As said, so you would probably expect it to be. It's not how it's transpired, but you would probably expect it. I mean, obviously a V8 supercar is totally different to an Indy car, but the methodology of extracting speed out of a street circuit or out of a circuit is totally different to extracting speed out of an oval. So
yeah, absolutely glorious run by Scotty Mack at the beginning of the year in his first oval. Just absolutely just nailed it. It just goes to show that there is some crossover. You do learn some things, and it's amazing what some of the road racers have been teaching some of the oval guys, because they've learned so much from them. I was hearing about some of them talking about how Romain Grosjean, when he raced at Gateway, I think it was, how his lines and everything just taught them, well, we can actually.
yeah, absolutely. So we are here for the third last round of the chase here on FGM Cast. This is the ANZCAR Cup Series here on FGM Cast. Let's have a quick look at the grid going into this race. And it is Jason Martin and Edward Foster on the front row, with Joshua Carroll-Walden, Hamish Gallagher off row 2. Then we've got Barry Neal with that last-stitch effort getting into P5 with Daniel Hederschied next to him to round out row 3. Then it's Andrew Dyson and Luke Trujillo off 4, with Scotty Griffiths and Matty Ray off row 5. Followed by Neil Pearson and Raymond Yeager off row 6. As we take a step back, it's Mickey Skurlock and Philip Worley off 7, with Stevie Dubb and Danny G off 8. Josh Micklemore, Nigel Patton off 9, with Phil Otto and Lachlan Urquhart off 10. As we look further back, it's Riley Curtis and Norman Clark off 11, with Mirko Dortnack and Dave Douglas off row 12. And then as we head towards the rear of the field, it's Paul Jackson with Matty Hunter. We've got Noddy Tompkins and Justin Witcher rounding out the 28 starters for this round of the ANZCAR Cup Series on FGMA Cast.
And hello, folks. I'm kind of back on my phone, so I will be here co-commentating for you, Stuart, while I try and get everything back up and running. We just had a power cut, unfortunately.
No worries at all, Carl. We'll hopefully get you back on the air proper soon enough. So it's going to be a reasonable warm-up lap here, of course, with the length of the track. Race length tonight, 130 laps. Race time of around about 70 minutes or so is the expected race time. As the pace car pulls in, and it is going to be Jason Martin. When is he going to decide to go? As we get this one underway, and he's off and running. He's got a really good start there on the low line. Edward Foster goes with him, and JCW as well. They're going to try and slot down to get it into the low line, you'd imagine, just to get this one sorted out at the front. In fact, at the moment, just running side by side. So try and edge Foster in if they can. At this stage, Hamish Gallagher battling away down in that low line.
They're going to want to try and get to that high line, because on the low line you're going to start boiling your tyres up. You don't want to do that too early, so trying to get to that high line early is a good option. And Foster...
So Foster's done just that, I think is what Carl was going to say. And Joshua Carroll-Walden now trying to move up into the lead. Daniel Hederschied on that high line as well, with Hamish Gallagher just in front of him. So the Natari Autosport team just trying to make their moves early and trying to get command and hold this race. Jason Martin moving down to the low line again to challenge Joshua Carroll-Walden for the lead. He's going to do just that. Of course, Carroll-Walden will get a good run off the exit of the turn. They'll head across the tri-over, the semi-tri-over section of the track. And it'll be still 2 by 2 they go as we start the second lap here. And you can see there the Natari boys have got themselves into a queue. They've got Hamish Gallagher stuffed in the middle between themselves and the driver 035, Daniel Hederschied, as he now moves in to create a third line. It is JCW and Foster. Again, just touching in the lead. You can see there as well, Barry Neal quite competitive underneath Daniel Hederschied. He's going to push for position as well early on. So it's been a frantic start up at the front here. Luke Trujillo
getting a really good run there as well, just getting the draft off the back of Hederschied, really catching him up well and trying to get that high line locked in at the moment. You can see Hederschied just blocking Jason Martin from getting up there. Martin desperately to try and get into the high line now, because he does not want to be on that low line too much longer, because that's going to start hurting the right rear tyre.
I think Martin's conceding now, moving up into the... Oh, we've got a loose. Barry Neal gets loose in the background there, makes contact with Luke Trahair. Both drivers managing to catch that. That would have been an underpants moment there for Trahair, but he's managed to catch it. Barry Neal's dropped a place. It's allowed Andrew Dyson to move up in front in the 041, who has just quietly made his way up that one position. It's Foster and Martin fighting away out the front here as well. So Martin... I think he was down on that low line. Yeah, he is, and he's just dropped off there now as well. So he's going to move back up into that high line and try and probably cool things down for a little bit.
And Foster looking to take the lead right here, and it's a good start for Foster. He's got Gallagher right behind him at the moment. Watch JCW probably just try and slot up in between himself and Gallagher if he can. There's enough room at the moment, and JCW does indeed make that move, gets up, and actually, just a little bit of aero wash there for Gallagher, and for JCW, gets them both into the wall, and that's lost them both momentum. This has given Foster a chance to break out a little bit on his own. It will give the cars behind him a little bit of a chance to get a bit of a tow. They'll get a drag from that, make up a little bit of speed, but luckily, he's got a couple of teammates behind him that will also be getting that little bit of run on him, on Gallagher, to try and keep him behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Glue. We'll come back and touch on the point you just made in the chat there about circuit racing moving its way into NASCAR when we've got a chance. But the battle here up at the front heading up, so we did see both those drivers get into the wall there as well, so a little bit of damage to both of them. Daniel Heddersheed up into third place. Now he's had a good start as he continues to try and keep this Natari Autosport sandwich up at the front working for the team. Pitch Motorsport Hayden with Hamish Gallagher in second place, and Jason Martin's just dropped off the back a little bit here. Probably spent a little bit of tyre, or a little bit more tyre than he would have wanted to at the start of the race, so just letting things cool off a bit and come back to him here. And then it is Andrew Dyson ahead of Barry Neal with Neil Pearson, Matty Raymond and Michael Skurlock rounding out our top 10 early on. Raymond Yeager right on his back bumper though, along with Philip Worley in another one of the DPR Skittles cars.
Gallagher gets a bit loose once again. This is going to give Heddersheed the run down the back straight. He's got the option, gets down the inside as well as JCW there. Looks like maybe there's a bit of heat issue on the back of Gallagher because he struggled a little bit. Heddersheed gets a big snap of oversteer just on the exit of turn 4, and that drops him back. That means that JCW loses that position once again, but he's going to try and get that position back. Jason Martin, meanwhile, still running that low line. So Martin and Dyson both running the low line at the moment, making it work. We saw that some people can actually make this low line work in the Xfinity cars. Will they be able to do the same in the Cup cars?
Seeing that whole field come through here. So it's been a nice clean start from everyone through 10 laps already here.
Nice clean start for the race, maybe not for the Australian Power Services, but we are back at full capacity here, and we are running away. Foster having a good lead at the moment, and he's got a teammate between himself and his title rival, importantly. So he's got a bit of a gap between himself and Hamish Gallagher and Jason Martin as well, so that's good news for him. Andrew Dyson having another blinder of a night. We've seen Dyso just improving on the ovals, and he is now a regular to the top spot of that podium, and taking out victories on ovals and road circuits. So he's a threat to everybody. So just looking back a little bit, Matty Raymond also running that low line with Neil Pearson. So a few cars doing that. Michael Skurlock now making a bit of a move through the field as he runs that high line. It does definitely look like the high line is the faster option. But we'll see how this one unfolds as the race goes on.
Yeah, even Justin Witcher getting involved up there as well. My apologies, Raymond Yeager getting involved up there as well. So a couple of different methods being applied early on. I guess the real telling sign will be, if we stay green for a while, how the tyres drop off on these drivers looking and running down in that low line. And we'll get to see that, of course, probably in the next 10 to 15 laps or so, if that happens. Dave Douglas gets a move done in the background. He's fighting away with Lachlan Urko, who's down underneath.
Sounds like Mirko Dornak may have just made contact with somebody. Maybe Phil Otto, so just a little bit of a tap between Otto and Mirko there. Just out of turn, just through turn number 3, just a little bit of side contact, nothing major at all though.
Just noticed as well, I saw Luke Trahere enter the pit lane on lap 7. I thought it might have just been registering when, as we do sometimes, get ghost entries, but no, he's actually out of the race. So
yeah, I think Luke actually...
hardware issue.
Luke took quite a bit of damage in that checkup, so I've got a feeling he might have taken a bit more damage than he expected, because there's a lot of damage to that that left front, and it also looked like there was some connectivity issues as well. So he might have had a bit of both going on at the same time, and just decided that it was probably better just to put it behind the wall for tonight, especially with that damage, because that would have been slowing him down. Now watch Jason Martin. He is starting to creep his way back forwards with Hamish Gallagher. That low line's starting to come alive now at this stage of the race. So in the early stages of the stint, it looks like that high line has just got a bit better speed. But in the later stages, that low line may be the better option. We'll see how this unfolds as the race goes on.
You're just saying there, Hedeshay, just the back of the 035, just breaking away a little bit through the turns, I should say. And he was just having to manage that as well. So Joshua Carroll-Walden just having to pull out of that one as well. So the Natari support brigade has just had to surrender a little bit of ground at the moment. And you can just see here Martin moving up there now in front of JCW. So they're going to try and make sure that Hamish gets in front of Daniel Hedesheed here where they can. This is where having your teammates around you in this sport is such a good thing. It's great to watch. And certainly here we're going to get to see it executed, I would suggest.
Yeah, Hamish has got quite a bit of damage as well to the right front of that car, and that's not always a good thing, especially here at Kansas. The right does take a little bit of a pounding. The right rear mainly is the one that gets a lot of aggro to it, but you generally rely on that right front just to do a little bit of the work, and it sort of tends to take a little bit of... tends to help you out a little bit, just keeps the car steady as the left front starts to wear down a bit quicker. So if he's getting more wear on that right front now from that damage, that's going to affect him quite a bit during this race, especially for the long stints.
See out the back here, Daniel Hedesheed's car just partnering along with Jason Martin at the moment. They're actually dead level now as Martin moves into second position just temporarily. The exit better there on that line, so they're just battling away. In the meantime, this is helping Foster. He's a second clear up the road at the moment. And of course, while tyres are being spent in the background, he's just able to manage that a little bit better. Of course, he'll be spending a bit more fuel doing what he's doing, but that won't be of much consequence at this point in time, given the state of the race.
Pretty much. Generally, Kansas, it can be a little bit more of a tyre track where you want to come in for tyres more than fuel, because you can get about 60, 65, 70 laps of fuel in the car. So it's going to get you pretty much to that sort of half distance point.
Hedesheed's really struggling with the rears on that car. It is quite skittish through the corners. I just saw him on the onboard there, just working away at the steering wheel, but you can just see it ever so slightly just break away from him. Oh, there it is again. Actually, that was camera angle, but you can just see it there on the exit. It's just squirming. He's trying to get out of the corner. And that's where Jason Martin's just able to control it a little bit better, and he's just making up this ground. It's a bit ping-pong at the moment, but Hedesheed's got to be careful here.
Yeah, I reckon Hedesheed's got a little bit of heat on that right rear at the moment, and that's causing that car just to be a little bit more skittish than he wants it to be. Just pushing a little bit too much in the mid-corner, and that just gets that little bit of heat build up on that right rear, and then that will hurt you on the exits, which it does once again.
Yeah.
So that's definitely telling of the right rear getting a little bit too hot, and when these tyres get hot, they have the... it's a bit like driving on ice. So you sort of have moments of almost driving on sheet ice. Luckily, this track's quite accommodating. When you have that moment of happening, you can kind of catch the car quite well. And usually it's more towards the exit of turn 4 that it happens. So it's more on the very exit of the corner, which is much easier to catch, but that does hurt the rest of your tyres because you start scrubbing them all the way through.
Just have a look at it here. Evan Martin's, he's just going to get up into the wall. He gets really close there. Header sheet almost gets up into the wall.
Gets saved by the bubble that's created when the car gets next to the wall there. That air bubble that gets created just absolutely kept Header sheet's car off the wall, and that's almost the perfect line that you want to take. Not with the skidding, of course. You don't want the back end stepping out on you, but you want to get nice and close to that wall so that air pocket that builds up next to the wall will effectively keep your car off the wall and on the track. It almost makes it so you don't have to turn the wheel.
Martin's going to get the close done here. Moves up into second place. Andrew Dyson, in the meantime, is putting pressure all over the back of JCW. So he's been running this mixed line as well. So it's benefited Jason Martin. And he's now right behind the 35 of Joshua Carroll-Walden, as opposed to the 035. Oh, in fact, he gets up into the wall there. Not too much damage done. This might open the door for Michael Skurlock. Of course, Neil Pearson directly behind these two as well. And Philip Worley a little bit further back in the distance now. Sort of at the head of the next pack coming through. Around about a second behind this grouping. Looks like that touch cost Daiso too much. He's just managed to maintain that gap. Maybe Skirley just jogging on the spot a little bit here, just maintaining where he needs to.
Yeah, keeping relatively quiet at the moment, Skirley. But as this goes on, we'll see some more happening. So he's probably just trying to keep those tyres just in a little bit better shape as this race goes on, not pushing too hard too early. And he's hoping for a nice long green run here, see what he can do and see if he can actually get a better overall pace out the car. See if he can run those couple of extra laps longer maybe as well. Just doing a little bit of fuel saving. You know, just have to put your foot completely on the throttle when you're behind a car like that as well. Just sitting behind Daiso there at the moment, so you can drive around at sort of 90%, 80% throttle. Yeah, that's it, you know, and that's using a lot less fuel than you normally would.
You see here, he's just not pushing the point too hard. Could have got the run then. Could exit and had a crack, but just seeing probably here file back in behind Daiso. And just going to make a complete mockery of everything that I said. No, he won't exit here. He'll close the gap.
I think Daiso's just moving back.
Yeah, it's just going to drop back behind Neil Pearson.
Start work with the teammates. So we've got the strawberry and the orange flavours of DPR up there at the moment, and they're going to be working together.
Just having a look back through the field here. Matty Ray just ahead of this battle. We've got Josh Mickelmore on his way through, working with teammate Danny G at the moment. So we've got the Pirate and the Assassin trying to make their way back up through the field. After Josh Mickelmore may be a little frustrated with his qualifying performances of late. It's un-Josh Mickelmore-like to be starting that far down the field. So, but tonight favours a poorer qualifying result, shall we say? There's no favour for a poor qualifying result, but at least being the nature of the track that we're at, able to make some progress back up through the field as well, and he's got a teammate to work with, because of course if we do stay green, there is the issue of exiting and being by yourself as a consequence of that stop. So we'll be able to work with Danny G on that one. Lachlan Urquhart right behind him, along with Scotty Griffiths. So pod.
Just watching, Andrew Dyson is absolutely hemorrhaging pace at the moment, so he has fallen off, and I think he might have just got a little bit too much. Oh Oh, Philip Worley's got into the wall and goes into Barry Neal there. Right camera, right time there, unfortunately. Big moment for Worley there in the purple DPR car. Just gets a little bit loose, but what I was just about to say is Dyson's struggling with his tyres a little bit, and Worley just runs up into the wall and then goes right down into Barry Neal. And I think it was Raymond Yeager just had a very lucky escape there.
Indeed.
So very, very close for him, and a few other lucky escapes a bit further down the field as well for Lachlan Urquio and Josh Micklemore as well. They just managed to sneak it through there. But that was an unfortunate incident there. Just that little tag on the wall, running a little bit too close. The cushion didn't help him there. He just got a little bit too close, made contact, and that was that for the night.
And Philip Worley's Camry looks more like a Corolla after that one, unfortunately. And Barry Neal just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he's got some heavy damage to the right-hand front corner of the Aotoa Racing entry. So after a good qualifying performance, that is disappointing. We will see a huge line of cars now. In fact, probably everyone jumping into pit lane.
It'll be a very... the only reason you would stick it out there is just so you could come around next lap to come into a fresher pit lane, in all honesty. There is no advantage of keeping that car out there because you're going to just hemorrhage pace because the tyres will have had a huge drop-off from right here. So seeing everybody come into pit lane, who is going to master their pit stop tonight? Who's going to make it work perfectly? Of course, Foster and Martin are sitting right at the front of the pit lane, so they're going to have a nice exit out. It's going to be very close between those two cars. Foster gets on the accelerator nice and early and gets away nicely in front of Martin. So good pit stop for Jason Martin there. I think possibly JCW might have made it out in front of Hamish Gallagher as well. So JCW just making a spot there too.
Well, yeah, and in fact a few, because Michael Skurlock has found himself out in 5th position. So himself and JCW getting out in front of Hamish Gallagher. So Hamish dropped a couple of positions there. And that looks like it was all in the entry to pit lane. Made up a good gap there as well. Have a look at Michael Skurlock's entry into pit lane. My goodness me, he's a full second clear of the majority of the field. So did well there, Skurlock, and shows in the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely nailing that pit stop, and it's a hard skill to master. So it looks like Matty Hunter's going to stick it out there actually and just see what goes on, because he's not coming to pit lane. So Matty Hunter just rolling the dice a little bit here. So he's done the full 34 laps on these tyres, or 35 laps. So he's been on these same tyres since the start of the race, of course. So he's got to be a little bit careful on that restart, not just spool them up too much, not to get too much spin on those tyres and have a little bit of a slow start. The person that this probably favours is Foster on the outside line. Of course, you can't overtake until the checkered line, until the start-finish line. So you have to basically hold back a little bit. But Foster is going to have so much more energy, so much more grip, on that outside line that he's just going to breeze past Hunter, and it might catch Jason Martin and Michael Skurlock out a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. But he might have just been doing the old leader lap to get a point. But he has stuck out there, so this is going to be costly, you would think, unless we get another quick caution directly after this one. Anyway, it is Matty Hunter who's going to lead us away. He's holding, and everyone else is going to have to guess when he goes. He goes now, and Edward Foster gets away. So reasonable start there from Matty Hunter on the old product. And Foster moves down to cover off Jason Martin right from the start. Everyone on fresh boots other than Matty Hunter. How's this going to play out? Daniel Hedershed moves down to that low line. Foster looks to go round the outside and gets it done. Hedershed getting it done along with Jason Martin. So the whole field's trying to squeeze its way through that top line to get around Matty Hunter. And there's a cork in the bottle there. It hurts Skirley. It hurts Hamish Gallagher as well. Benefactor there, Neil Pearson, who gets around the outside and moves up a position as well. But at the front, Edward Foster resumes the lead of this race. Hamish Gallagher getting caught in that bottle. He's almost in it still. Oh, it's 3 wide through the middle there. Josh Micklemore just gets squeezed as Hunter tries to find a place on track to park the 48. He's done well here. He is hemorrhaging positions as we expected. and out of it, Hamish Gallagher and Andrew Dyson, probably the heaviest affected. Matty Ray moves up, and he has moved up into 7th position following the caution period. A bit close on the restart there, Cal.
It was a bit. Look, good awareness from Hunter just to keep the car low, not really try anything too extreme there. But as we suspected, everybody just having those fresh tyres just gobbled them up through the field. So that was quite costly for time. Of course, this could come back to Matt Hunter. If we get a couple of cautions in this race and he has an extra set of boots for the end, it could pay off as big moment for Daniel Heddersheed and Neil Pearson. They get very close together. Heddersheed just having to back out of that one a little bit. Neil Pearson down the inside of him. Pearson having a cracking restart at the moment, just on a bit of a flyer.
He just tries to slide up into that top line there. Not a lot of room given from Heddersheed, as there doesn't need to be. Heddersheed now fires it down the inside. Is he going to get out ahead of Carol Warren? There might be a little bit of work done together here. No, doesn't happen that way. So across the tri-oval he goes. Let's just try and use the teammates together, get in that top line there. Skirley's on that high line as well. Looks like Matty Ray's just trying to work it out for the minute. He moves back up into that high line, but it works for the Natari boys. They close that back out. Daniel Heddersheed back up into P4 with Neil Pearson right behind him.
Good restart by everybody. Just looking through the field at the moment. Paul Jackson having a good run, up 11 spots in P17. So he's the best of the big gainers tonight so far, but we'll keep an eye on that as the race goes on. Meanwhile, Daiso has got some really good short run pace, but I feel like his long run pace is going to struggle. So we'll see if Daiso just is a little bit easier this time round, because he was running that low line a lot more last stint, and that was really costing him towards the end there. When Philip Worley had that incident with Harry Neal, I was just saying that Daiso was dropping off pace a huge amount, and it seemed like his tyres had burnt off. So he is now sticking to that high line, because I think maybe that low line just ate a bit of their tyres up for the long run pace. It was very good for the short run, but not so much for the long run. The only person that seemingly made it work was Jason Martin.
Yeah, we did say that we might have to keep an eye out on that drop-off, and it did come away. So, who knows? Jason Martin, of course, backed out of it a little bit earlier, and Daiso pushing wise. So it's not surprising to see everyone conforming now and just running that higher line. As I say that, of course, Matty Hunter just moves down that little bit lower. Looks like he's trying to get the run on Daiso here. That is not happening. So he's pulled back up in to line. Hamish Gallagher, the one hurt most out of that restart. He's dropped 5 positions and is now running down in P9. So not the worst position to be in at this point in the race, but certainly he would be preferring to be up the front with some friendly faces around him.
Yeah, he'll be looking to try and get that one working. We'll see later on in the race how that one goes, because again, it's getting that sort of getting everything working in the right way. That's often the hard getting strategies worked out is often the thing that makes it or breaks a oval race. And sometimes your strategy might not be looking good in the early stages, but later on it really comes and pays off.
Yeah, the race can come to you very much so. He'll be hoping for that. But at this point in time, it's been a pretty good race so far, with plenty of moves being made. We're just going to talk. Carl Heigler made a mention of it in the chat about the fact that there are more and more circuits making their way into the scene on NASCAR, particularly in the coming season. So several circuits gradually rolling their way in. So it's something that's a changing landscape for NASCAR.
Yeah, that's it. They want to try and have a couple more circuits in there, a few more things than ovals, of course. But I think with this season, they sort of had this. They tried it out with a lot more road circuits, and I feel like they're going to be going back to a few more ovals again because it didn't seem to pay off the way they wanted it to. So it's very much been a sort of. I think we will see a couple more road courses creep in, and I think that's a good thing because it does give a good display of what the drivers can do, and it gives a chance to some other drivers as well. It's a bit like running in wet weather. You know, it's now the fact they've got wet tyres in NASCAR. You know, it gives a few more options and gives them the chance to actually race in all conditions, so you don't have to put as many races off and things like that. But yeah, it's not a bad thing at all, and it gives a little bit more spice to it, and especially with the new car coming up next season, that is going to be much nicer to drive on the circuits, from what I understand, and it's actually got it's got 5 gears instead of 4, so that's going to be a big difference maker.
Yeah, as Daniel Hedersheet gets up into the wall there, that's going to slow him down. It'll open up the opportunity for Neil Pearson to make a move past, which he takes with both hands. And he's got in there again, Hedersheet, so he's struggling with the 035. Skilly not quite able to take advantage there. Yes, the next gen car was actually the other thing I was going to talk to you about, because of course we should see that on the broadcast next season, and it's a bit of a change up from where we're at now with the current spec cars. Yeah,
very different vehicle. It's gonna really change things up. So that will be interesting.
Everyone starts on the same playing field next season, so it's coming to you in 2022. So the drivers will all have to get used to that. It's a different beast to drive. We haven't run it here on with ANZCAR. As Hedersheet gets loose again, he's just struggling the back of the car with the back of the car again there. So this is what we saw for Hedersheet through the first run, and in fact it was about this time, it was about 20 laps into the tyre set that he just started to have that rear end break away from him again. Of course, he's got a little bit of damage now that he picked up from contact with the wall. You can see Daiso taking advantage now and moving down the inside. But he's starting to struggle again in the 035 entry. So maybe just a little too hot on the tyres. He's up at the front now. Switch back up to the front here. You can see Edward Foster for the first time coming under pressure from the number 21 entry of Jason Martin.
Yeah, Martin is he's now using that low line a little bit more, and he's going to get a lot more speed through that. We're going to see a difference in pace. So this one will be a big help for him, because he's going to run that low line. But of course he will heat up his tyres a little bit more, so it might hurt him in the long run. We will see how this one plays out, but he's trying to make Foster defend on that low line at the moment, and Foster is having absolutely nothing of it. Foster is just running his own race, ignoring Martin's attacks until now. Foster now going for that low line to defend a little bit, and this could be a little bit dire for Foster because he's not run much of that low line tonight in the race. Martin has had a lot of experience, and you can see Martin has got a lot more speed out the corner this time. He's now choosing to take the high line. The dummy's down, so Foster takes the low line to try and defend against Martin. Martin's going to take the high line, and he's going to get a great run off on the tri-oval and make the overtake here. So Martin absolutely caught Foster out with that bait and uses that beautifully to make the pass.
Just starting to come up on some...
Martin just catches the apron. So he did not follow through with that overtake as well as he needed to. Just caught the apron that little bit, and that has cost him speed there. So all of that setup has all of that hard work that Jason Martin just did has just gone away in the single move down on the apron.
I was just going to say, starting to come up towards the first of the lap traffic in Barry Neal. Mirko Dortmack comes into pit lane. This is Looks like he's jumped out, in fact. So, no, he's still there. We've got a few more jumping into pit lane as well. So
Martin and Foster are very much side by side once more as they make the moves done. So Riley Curtis in pit lane as well. A bit of damage on that car, so I'm just wondering, yeah, Riley Curtis has had a big slap up into the wall. That's why he's in pit lane. And Mirko, say a similar thing happened. He's got quite a lot of damage.
Jumped
right
to the
front.
pits, yeah, he went off the track. I'll just quickly go back and have a look at this one. Just on the big drift up in the corner, and he's flown.
And that will have got a penalty as well. Yeah.
It's a very, very rapid way to enter pit lane, but not necessarily correct by the rules.
Yeah, not the safest way of entering pit lane, some might say, but the quickest way for sure. And
Good
also
control.
you also get an extra couple of dollars for mowing the lawn as well. So it's quite useful in that respect.
I used to go into a driver's briefing before a race event with a particular steward here down in Victoria, and he used to say that we weren't allowed to use the grass because they hadn't paid to rent that segment of the track. But anyway, they're getting around now. Around Barry Neal is unfortunately impacted by the only event to bring out a caution so far, and unfortunately he's going to go a lap down.
Got a good battle going on a little bit further back between Gallagher and Heddersheeds at the moment. Andrew Dyson as well, just getting through this too. So Dyso in the lead. Oh,
You all got real close there, Hamish.
very close for Hamish. That back end was very much stepping out there, but again, that little bit of buffer against the wall just saved his night. Meanwhile, up the front, we've got a pass for the lead as Martin makes the move on the inside. Foster should get a better run off the exit here, but they're going to be side by side, getting down the back straight here. Foster's going to get back in the lead. Martin can't really get that move done on the inside because Foster's able to get a better run off the exit each time. And Foster's not falling for that defending the inside part again. So Jason Martin very much used up his one trick in the book. I'm sure he's got many others, but that trick has been used and Foster's not falling for it a second time. As a bit of a check up behind, and that's given Matty Ray an opportunity to get down underneath Hamish Gallagher. They're three wide as they go through the corner. Gallagher, Heddersheed and Raymond, they make it through unscathed. I think maybe a little bit of damage to Heddersheed's car, so I think maybe he had a little bit of impact there. Maybe that's what caused it. Yeah, Heddersheed's just had a moment up into the wall.
Yeah, he's just struggling again. Still with the same problem. Matty Ray trying to take advantage here. Stephen Williams looking like he wants to get involved, but Hamish Gallagher right on the rear bumper. As you can see here, right on the rear bumper there of Daniel Heddersheed. You can see the damage there to the rear right-hand corner of the 035 of Heddersheed. As that's hurt Gallagher as well. He's had to get out of the gas there. He got real close to the wall, again damage to the right-hand front corner of that car. So a couple of battle wounds to these cars running in 7th and 8th position. I tell you, Stevie W as well. Stevie Dub, he's on his way through. Lachlan Urquo the same. And we've also got a very quick Matty Ray trying to make his way through with this one as well. So,
and just jumping up to the front
in the wall. Sorry, Lachlan Urquo just up in the wall.
Neil Pearson on an absolute charge up the front, just got a fantastic move done on JCW and was just getting a run on Martin and Foster as well. So Neil Pearson coming into the mix for the battle for the lead of this race at the moment. It is all on all over the track. We've got action everywhere. As always, not enough eyes to cover it.
No, definitely not. So there's a trio fighting for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Mickey Skurlock there, always just lurking. And you've got Edward Foster and Jason Martin up at the front who just can't quite sort of say, JCW just gets the right-hand rear into the wall. That allows Skirley with his cat-like Welsh reactions to jump out from behind him and move up into 4th without damaging the 350. So, can Martin figure out a new way to try and get past Foster, having shown his hand? Foster not wanting to play that game this time around. So you can see here Stevie Dubb down on that low line as well. So Danny G's just got past He's in a battle with the Witcher Electrical sponsored duo, Raymond Yeager and Justin Witcher.
Just out of interest for everybody, Matty Hunter has just taken his first pit stop, so he's coming to pit lane. He's filled it up with fuel and put a fresh set of tyres on there, so he can probably just about make it to the end from here. It might be a little bit tight because he doesn't have those cautions, as Jason Martin once again makes a move on Foster. This time gets a good run on the inside line. It's going to be neck and neck on the exit, but Foster once more just gets that better run on the exit. If he can come down and cut Martin off on the tri-oval, which he does, that's going to save him that position once again. It is a constant battle here at the front. Neck and neck as they go through it, and Martin is trying desperately to make Foster come and defend that low line, and he's not taking the bait this time.
Great camera angle here. It's out of the track there. But Martin will be spending tyre as well, trying to get this move done and having to keep ducking down to that low line to try and bring Foster to battle.
Martin's got a good run this time. Martin's got a really good run this time into the first corner, and this could be Martin's opportunity. Martin is neck and neck with Foster. He's got out in front. He's got the lead. He's going to try and slide it up in front of Foster. Will he have the chance? No. Foster gets a better run off the corner once more as they are coming up to, I think, Noddy Tompkins. Just coming up to Noddy Tompkins shortly. But Foster and Martin are really still battling side by side. Martin almost got that one done that time round, but just missed out. Just didn't have the exit speed once again on that low line.
On board here with Martin again. And he's just had to jump out of the throttle there as well, so maybe getting a little bit too much heat into those tyres with the push. And that's brought him right back into the grasp of Neil Pearson. So Foster gets a breather for a minute or two. Potentially not even that long. But Pearson will be looking to make a move. Skirley's got some pace as well.
As Daniel Heddersheet's just falling back a little bit. Stevie Dubb and Matty Ray all over the back of him at the moment. They are putting all the pressure they can onto the 035. Matty Ray running that low line again, trying to get that one working. Stevie Dubb sitting on the high line, and Heddersheet just struggling a little bit for the rear grip again. That car's just stepping out a little bit on the exits, and I have to wonder if that little bit of damage is hurting him in that respect. Wondering if we might see a few cars coming into pit lane shortly. I've got a feeling we might see somebody like maybe Hamish Gallagher come into pit lane in the next 5 laps or so. Just with that damage, just try for the undercut on the tyres and see what he can do. We'll see what happens.
Tlopanupa is trying again. He's putting the pressure on Matty Ray on that low line. Josh Micklemore just joining into this battle. As Matty Ray slides up there in front of Stevie Dubb on the high side of the track. Cuts back down again. So this is giving Heddersheet a breather as well as these guys fight out. So you just see that gap opening up slightly. And that'll get more contested and congested as Josh Micklemore moves into this pack. Andrew Dyson's just got Hamish Gallagher approaching the back of him. Hamish just been quietly going about. Thinks he's got a little bit of damage to the right-hand front side of that car. Dyson equally with a little bit of damage and managing his tyres a bit better in this stint. We haven't seen him quite fall off the cliff like he did before that first caution. Had RS14 in the chat just questioning how important track position is at this point, Carl.
And if there's a crash in front of you, I suppose. That's always the answer for an oval race. That's how track position is important. I think leading has got a slight advantage to it, but it's Foster just does not want to see Martin get past him and run away. I think that's the thing that Foster is trying to stop. So doesn't want Martin to have a bit of a run away with this one. Because I think Martin's got the pace over Foster, but Foster's just able to hold that track position and keep him blocked in behind him, which is important. Meanwhile, you can just see up at the front, Riley Curtis is just flying past the leaders at the moment on those fresh tyres. So that gives you an idea of how much more pace those fresh tyres have got. about half a second advantage at the moment over a full lap, and that's going through some traffic as well. So once he gets in the clear, he might have a little bit more pace. But what this does as well is it gives Foster somebody to follow for a couple of laps, so he can slip in behind Riley Curtis, get a little bit of the draft. You don't get a huge one here at Kansas, but you do get a little bit, so that can help out a tiny little bit for straight line speed. But Riley's going to be trying to run away a little bit to try and get some laps back. Currently 2 laps down at the moment, but he did stop under green.
Martin has addressed that gap. He's back up behind the 53 of Foster. Pearson just off in the background there. He's got Michael Skurlock and JCW just off the back of this pack. And this is the battle for the lead, 76 through 130 here. Kansas was Foster has to pull up a bit there. He's got Martin right next to him, keeping him company.
Foster had to really lift off there. He just got a little bit loose on the exit of the corner and had to ease off so he didn't clip the wall, and this is going to be it for Martin.
Moves into the lead now, so Neil Pearson will be sniffing a little bit of blood here as well, along with Michael Skurlock. So change for the lead here.
So what lap do we see them coming in for green flag stops? Do we see them risking an early green flag stop to possibly get that advantage on the fresh tyres? Do we see them sticking it out a bit longer so they've got fresher tyres towards the end of the race? There are those that favour the undercut and those that favour the overcut. Sometimes the overcut can work better. We have seen that a few times this season. But if you can build up enough of an advantage with the undercut, then that makes it a lot easier. As Neil Pearson makes a move down the inside, Pearson absolutely launches that one. Is going to slide up in front of Foster here. Foster's going to go down low for the up and under. Will Foster be able to make this one work as they go across the tri-oval? Foster's got the inside line at the moment and just gets in front of Neil Pearson. He's not quite there yet, can't slide it up, and this is going to give Pearson an advantage in the outside. If he can hold it there, he might be able to get a better run off the corner. Foster can't quite slide it up in time, and this could give Skurlock a chance as well.
Yes, so we have JCW to close back up onto this group as well. So maybe this will be the time where they call that in. Hamish Gallagher in the meantime in the background putting pressure on Andrew Dyson. So that has continued. This is a battle for P6, P7. Josh Micklemore giving Steve Williams the hurry up as well. There's Matt Hunter, who has pitted, is just making his way up through the field.
So Lachlan Oakey has just come in for his pit stop. This will give us a good idea of how much time Matt Hunter has actually made up, because we saw Lachlan Oakey sort of running around the midfield. Matt Hunter, of course, he stayed out there on the old tyres, so he lost a lot of time there. So once my timing screen decides to work itself out a little bit, give me an idea of whereabouts those are sitting.
Daniel Heddersheed comes into pit lane. He had dropped all the way down to P15 before making the decision to jump in.
Yeah, as I said, I think that 5-lap section, that's where we're going to start seeing those cars coming in. So Martin now opening up the gap. He's got almost a 0.6 of a second lead over Neil Pearson right now. And I think this is why Foster did not really want to see Martin get in front of him, because Martin's just got a lot of pace at the moment. Foster's just sliding back a little bit. I wonder if he's just saving a little bit or if he is starting to struggle. Because he seems to be struggling. He's coming into pit lane. Foster's pinning.
He's decided it's time. So the first of the front group jumps.
Danny G seeing that and popping into pit lane as well. So how long does Martin stick it out? Does he stick it out now for a bit of long-term pain and possibly a bit of gain in the future with that overcut situation? Or will we see him pin into pit lane very shortly as well? Looks like He's sticking it out with Skurlock and Pearson at the moment. As Joshua Carroll-Walden, sorry, has had a big moment coming into pit lane. Just has a big lock-up. Manages to save that one.
Oh, there's a few just locking up on their way into pit lane. Who's that in the background there? I think it's...
Hamish Gallagher coming in as well with Andrew Dyson. And Hamish was a very late call. He decided to come in very, very late and almost got a big rear ending from Andrew Dyson. I don't think they made contact. I'm just going back and having a little look at this one, but it was very close. Maybe just a tiniest little brush, but no damage to those cars.
So we'll play the waiting game now to see how far they are going to go out there without stopping. Another idea of some of the...
I think we've got Martin coming in this time round with Pearson. Skirley's going to stick it out there. So Skurlock's sticking it out there for another lap. Neil Pearson gets a really nice entry into pit lane there.
Yeah. Made up a heck of a lot of time there. Just on the way in.
So, to give you an idea, Lachlan Urquhart came in a little bit before. He's now the car sitting just behind Edward Foster. There's a bit of a gap between them, about 4 seconds, but that's the sort of time he gained up. So we should see Foster back in the lead here. And we'll see how this one pays off for him once the pits have finished themselves off. So at the moment it's Skurlock out there with Stevie Dubb. They're sticking it out there for the long run with Justin Witcher, Paul Jackson, Norman Clark and Raymond Yeager. Jason Martin makes it out of pit lane just in front of Neil Pearson. So those two are battling on the exit and battling it out of pit lane. So those two are having a really big battle, and Neil Pearson actually getting a little bit of a tank slapper on the first corner. Just has to save that car a little bit.
He's back in the pit lane.
So, he might have got a penalty. That might have been why he was so fast into pit lane. He sped in pit lane possibly. So looks like that is a penalty for him. That's disastrous for his night.
It's going to drop him right down the list. What it has done though, this pit cycle has ended up with Foster and Gallagher in order. As our effective race leader. So Lachlan Urquhart has done a good job jumping up into P3. Jason P4 now. As Martin goes past him into P3, he's now stuck in this pack. Andrew Dyson just in the back of it. Might be where Martin wants to be. Spending tyre at the moment. JCW with him as well. And just ahead of him, Hamish Gallagher.
Was Hamish Gallagher coming in a little bit earlier as well, so that undercut paid off for Hamish Gallagher quite well. Gained him a nice little bit of time over the rest of them, but Foster's got a 5-second lead over those guys, so Foster's got a nice bit of gap now that he can use. So he'll be enjoying that while he can. And the thing is right now is all of these cars are going to have to fight for that position. So they're going to be busy fighting, and this could give Foster the chance to have a nice clean run at the front and sail away. Skurlock in pit lane. Stevie Dubb keeps it out there for one more lap. Justin Witcher as well, still out there.
Can't be too far from pitting. Of course, Nigel Patton, Phil Otto as well, yet to pit. And looks like Noddy Tompkins as well. And of course, he spent a little bit of time in pit lane. So they won't be too far off. You can see Hamish Gallagher here just moving his way through the middle. Matt Hunter there, down on the apron. He pitted a lot earlier. Now Martin's caught back up onto the back of Hamish Gallagher. Going to be looking to potentially work or go past his teammate.
Of course, they're fighting for a championship against each other as well.
Absolutely.
And we know Mitch, they work well on track with each other, but they do like to have a bit of a battle as well. So they're not going to make it easy for each other. As Stevie Dub comes into pit lane, he can't keep it out there any longer. Justin Witcher takes the lead of the race and gets a bonus point for that as well. So always nice to get a lead lap in the race. As Justin Witcher just makes a little bit of contact with the wall there. Curse of commentator once again paying off completely.
You got to keep practiced at it, Carl.
Been working very well of late.
Otherwise you lose the talent, mate. So you got to keep doing it as yeah. Battle continues. Stevie Williams this is in pit lane. He is indeed on his way out here.
He's coming for his pit stop. So we've got Phil Otto and Nigel Patton out there as well. They came in on the caution, remember?
They did.
So they are now going to be the effective leaders once Witcher comes in. So right. Phil Otto will get that. I think that's Nigel Patton coming in, actually.
Yeah, Patton comes in.
So
and,
Witcher's
also
sticking it out there.
Noddy Tompkins has jumped into pit lane as well.
So they're just hoping for a caution right now. If one comes out, it's going to be fantastic news for them.
We're rapidly approaching the 100 lap mark in this race.
Very much getting towards the end of the race. So I'd say Witcher coming in, and Phil Otto is probably going to be coming in as well very shortly.
Yeah, Witcher's in now.
So Phil might just keep it out for one lap just to get that bonus point and just get that little tick next to his name. But I think he's coming in.
Not even going to get that privilege because Foster's already gone past him. So Foster in the race lead. Otto does come into pit lane anyway. But order has been resumed. As Foster now P1, Gallagher P2, Martin P3. We've got Carol Walden in 4th, Dyson 5th, Micklemore in 6th, Daniel
Martin in P2.
Oh yeah, I was a little bit slow there. I saw that. Danny H and then Danny G, Matty Ray and Lachlan Urquhart running out of top 10. So Skirley suffered a bit through that. Of course, Matty Ray stopping a little earlier, as did Lachlan Urquhart, but Skirley's dropped from the front down into P11, so got a little bit of work to do.
And the one that's paid off for out the front is Foster. He's currently setting decent lap times, 31.8 last time round. Jason Martin, 31.7. We'll see what Jason Martin can do in clean air now. So that's going to be the one to watch out for, is how fast can Martin go now, because he needs to make up a 5.5 second gap as it stands. So he's got a long way to make up now, and only 32 laps to do it in.
Yeah, cautions are not anyone's friend as far as Foster's concerned from here on in. Be able to clean run this to the finish, and that's what he'll be hoping to do.
Seems like the undercut pays off quite a bit if you can get it in clean air. And with Hamish Gallagher's position as well, you've got to say it's paid off well for him. But he has got JCW and Andrew Dyson snapping at his heels at the moment. But he's still worked himself up into a fairly good spot as well, considering he was plummeting down the order last time I checked. So not a bad run for Hamish at the moment. He's going to try and keep defending that spot. Big movers at the moment is still Paul Jackson in P14, who's made 14 positions. So all the 14s for Paul Jackson at the moment. Where was it? Josh Micklemore made up 9 positions. He's the highest of the big gainers, up in P6 at the moment. So 9 positions for Joshy Micklemore.
You'll be happy with that. Wanting to continue to press that claim though. We're just keeping an eye here. Looks like it's Neil Pearson there. He is a lap or 2 down after having to serve a pit lane penalty. So he's just making his way past this grouping, or trying to get through. So JCW wants to take advantage and go with him with the draft. It's not for position though. Gallagher just running that high line, just managing to close out JCW again. I don't really need to be worrying about Pearson as much. Just probably let him go a bit. Focus on those they're racing.
Well, it's just such a shame because you can see the sort of advantage that Pearson had. Pearson had a fast car out there tonight, but that pit lane, I would guess it was speeding in the pit lane, has cost him a huge deal. So that's a big shame because he had a fairly fast car. Going back to actually, I do wonder. I will back in a second, Stuart. Give me a moment.
No worries. In the meantime, let's just jump up and check in with race leader. Gap still at just over 5 seconds. Last time around, Martin was only 2/10 quicker than Foster. So that gap just treading water. Hamish Gallagher in P3. Things finished like this, Foster would be pleased with the night's work. But there's still plenty of time to go here. 27 laps left.
I think it was speeding at pit lane. I just had a feeling it might have been he might have just crossed the yellow line on the exit as well. So that might have been the other thing as well. He was racing Martin fairly hard on the pit exit. So that could have been a cause as well for that penalty. So he might have just crossed the line a tiny bit too early. And that could have been the reason he had to get that drive through. So Foster at the moment setting some fairly good lap times. His last lap time was a 32.4. Jason Martin a 32.1. He's still got a 4.6 second lead. So that's the main thing, is he's kept that lead over Martin. And it's not really closing at the moment. So Foster's just able to cruise a little bit. He'll be still pushing relatively hard. Not wanting to sort of relax too much, because we've seen what happens to a racing driver when they ease off too much. They lose focus and often make a mistake. So he'll still be going at sort of pretty much normal pace, but he's got a little bit less to worry about right now.
Yep, definitely so. It's just dropped under 5 seconds now, so it's, we'll continue to close. There's still enough time for that to have effect. Michael Skurlock now back up into P5. So he was down as far as P11 out of the pit window. He's making good progress once again in the 350. Keeps going the way he is. He'll be up at the front before too much longer. You can see him closing the gap last time around. He was half a second quicker than Joshua Carroll-Walden. So he is flying in the 350. It won't be too long before he makes the move. In fact, I think he's not going to wait much longer at all. Won't need to with the pace he's got. There's a bit of damage on the two cars in front of him. In fact, on the next three cars in front of him, there's damage on track. Not for position. 350 in good nick. Perhaps that's just showing through now.
Yeah, I think Scully's just been saving a little bit before, just throughout the race, not quite pushing as hard as he needed to. And now he started to switch it on. So Scully having a really good run at the moment. And he's having a very... He's got some, looks like he's got a good turn of speed right now. So he's trying to make up those positions. And he's going to be trying to work his way up towards Hamish Gallagher, who has got that right front damage as well, so could possibly just have a little bit of trouble just for that long run pace. So Scully very much looking to try and get back here in the booth and try and get another top 3 finish in the ANZCAR series. Meanwhile, up front, that gap has started to close down to 4 seconds now. Martin starting to push a little bit harder and trying to bridge the gap to Foster, but Foster still able to set good lap times. It's only a 10th here and a 10th there that Martin's able to eke out. He's not really gaining what he would want to be gaining at the moment, especially with 20 laps remaining. He's quite a way off.
Yeah, because he's got the advantage of not being in completely solo space, but Neil Pearson between himself and Hamish Gallagher at the moment, just slightly out of position. And we'll just jump back here again to Michael Skurlock, who has closed that gap significantly on Hamish Gallagher now. So the pressure is on there for position. We see Skirley here probably try and push the point as quickly as he can. He won't want to see the pace drop off too much. He's having to run that lower line.
You can see it's cost him a little bit on the corner speed exit, but he's just trying to do what Jason Martin did beforehand and make Hamish Gallagher come down to defend that low line. He's trying to bait him into defending at the moment, and if he can do that, then he will have a good chance to get up and pass.
Just coming down there to do just that. Skirley's got a run on here. You can see him closing at a rate. Get down underneath here. It looks like he's potentially going to have the pace to get it closed out, and obviously Gallagher gets that better exit as you'd expect. They're side by side here.
Skirley needs to be really...
Sorry.
Skirley needs to be really cheeky and cut up in front of Gallagher like he does there. That's the move he needed to do to make that one work, because otherwise Gallagher was going to get that run off the corner once more and have that advantage. I'm just wondering if that bit of damage to the front of Gallagher is just affecting his long run pace and just causing him to struggle that little bit with time. So it's not a huge amount of damage on that car, but it is enough to cause a little bit of drama.
So with 18 to go, Michael Skurlock moves into P3. So can he catch Jason Martin is the next question. Lapping at similar pace, but of course, how much tyre has Skirley spent getting up into P3? Has he got enough left to close the gap down over the following remaining 17 laps?
We'll see how much pace Skirley's been hiding in reserve now. If he has got any extra pace, he'll want to use it up right now and see what he can do. Meanwhile, got a bit of a battle going on a little bit further back. Josh Micklemore is now putting some pressure on JCW. That one is going to be a couple more laps before it ripens completely, but Josh Micklemore is catching on the back of JCW at the moment, and he's going to start trying to put some pressure on him. Meanwhile, Stevie Dubb, the man that stayed out there the longest, of course, he's now making his way through the field as well. He just got past Danny G, and Stevie Dubb seems to have some good pace now. He did stay out much longer, about 10 laps longer than the rest of the field, and he's trying to use that overcut to its advantage, and it is paying off for him at the moment. He's definitely got some good pace.
The challenge comes now. Josh Micklemore just pushing up onto the back of JCW. Again, that same tactic being used. Just trying to tempt JCW into defending the low line. The gap at the front down to under 3 seconds now.
Foster having to roll out the throttle that last lap as well, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time. So that wasn't an ideal lap for Foster. He just got a little bit close to the wall once more, just had to roll off the throttle, and that cost him a good couple of, about 0.2 of a second. So that really helped Jason Martin just catch up a little bit to him. But as we say, catching is one thing, passing is very much another, and we've seen Foster was able to put some good defensive moves on. Foster has really got to hope that Skirley can do something and catch up to Martin, though, to put some pressure on the back of him. Meanwhile, Micklemore is making the move on JCW. He's got down on the inside line at the moment. Across the tri-oval side by side, Micklemore looks to have a little bit better pace on those tyres. Just has a little bit better pace in that car as well. JCW is going to get a good run off the corner. Micklemore comes up to grab the slipstream as soon as possible. Take right on the back of JCW. Again, taking that short line, trying his best to get past. He's going to have to really slide up in front of JCW to try and block him off. Not enough room this time round. Josh Micklemore really needs to do a harsh lap. Last time round, Jason Martin just took out a huge chunk of time from Foster as well, about half a second. So Martin is on an absolute charge at the moment, fastest car on track as it stands. So we'll keep an eye on that one as it carries on, but this battle is the main one for the moment. Micklemore gets a good run into the corner. He's got ahead of Joshua Carroll-Walden at the moment. Can he slide it up in front of him? Yes, he can. JCW tries to slide it down underneath him, can't do it. He's got the high line once more across the tri-oval, but looks like Micklemore's just got enough car length to make it. JCW goes down the inside now to try and do the same thing to Micklemore, but I think Micklemore will just have a better run through the corners. You can see JCW just getting a bit tail happy there, loses the rear end and loses some time. Micklemore makes the move stick.
Closes that out. So he's going to get a little bit of a gap here. 2 seconds. Meantime is the gap at the front of the field. Steve Dubb, Andrew Dyson just changing position in the background. Danny G now putting pressure on Andrew Dyson, so 10 to go. Now Foster just warning JCW not to generate a caution at this point in time. With good reason. 2 second gap, just stabilising at the moment. The lap times between the two reasonably even.
JCW's got to be careful of Stevie Dubb as well, because Stevie Dubb could well catch him towards the end of this race. We've got 8 laps remaining, so we are coming towards the end. Martin is chewing into the lead, but is it enough? He's only got a couple of laps to do it in. Does he have enough time to make this one work? It's going to be close. I think he's going to be sitting right on the back of Foster once we get to the end here, because Martin he just has that little bit more comfort through the corners. Foster's just having to lift a little bit more through the midsection of the corner. He just doesn't have the grip that he wants, and Martin is just able to take a little bit more throttle through the corners. So you can hear just there, Foster just having to ease off the accelerator pedal a fair bit more. Martin just able to keep it planted a little bit more, able to keep down probably about 10% more throttle through the corners.
Yeah, they're starting to have to deal with a small amount of lap traffic too, so that could play into things.
No blue flags in oval racing. It is very much up to you to get past those lapped cars. Usually they're pretty good though. They're not going to be putting up too much of a fight, but losing the lead lap can be very painful. I think the cars that are being lapped at the moment are down more than one lap, so they probably won't put up too much of a fight in all honesty.
Yes, I think just Matt Hunter there getting passed by Edward Foster. In fact, no, he's just still down there on the low line, so must have maybe just grabbed a little bit of a toe there. Matt Hunter hit all the way back on lap 63. As Foster closes that one out. We've got 6 to go.
That sticking out strategy did not work well for Matt Hunter, although he has gained 5 positions in the race, so that is some benefit to him. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. As we cross the line, we've got 5 laps now. It is very much getting to the tail end of this race. Foster still setting some good lap times, about a tenth of a second faster than Martin. Martin 1.5 seconds down still. Scully not really closing the gap on him. Hamish Gallagher not really closing the gap there either. Josh Micklemore, meanwhile, is still battling away with JCW, and this has helped Stevie Dubb get up to the back of them. Remember, Stevie Dubb has got some slightly fresh tyres, so he's got 10 laps on his tyres, so he might have a little bit of a chance to make something happen here towards the tail end of this race. We'll keep a little eye on that one. As they battle it out, of course, they're going to be slowing themselves down, and that's just going to be helping Stevie Dubb just move up those extra positions. So he'll be enjoying that quite a lot.
He will be. He'll just be watching in the background here saying, yep, no worries. You guys keep that up.
3 laps remaining, and the gap is down to just over a second now between Foster and Martin. So this is getting very, very close. It is really, really going to be tight at the finish, but I don't think Martin's going to have enough pace to do it. It's just going to be tantalisingly close for him, and he'll be kicking himself just staying out those extra couple of laps. That will have cost him a little bit more. Meanwhile, Skurlock is it's sort of got a nice gap between himself and Martin. So Martin's not got too much to worry about behind him, so he's not going to be having to look in his mirrors. He's just going to be looking in front of him, trying to catch Foster down. As the white flag will be out next time round, Foster just has to keep some decent pace in that car, just not make a mistake to make it to the end now and see that checkered flag. Martin, though, will be pushing with all his might.
Yeah, absolutely. Recovery of sorts as well for Hamish Gallagher. He's in fourth where he started, just to keep the hopes alive for the Cup. As we begin that final lap, the gap is a second. Second meet just ticking over.
Just jumping back quickly to Stevie Dubb, making the move on Josh Micklemore and possibly going to make his way past there, so he's making his way up through the field. So we'll jump back to that once we see Foster cross the line, because he's getting very close now to that start-finish line. Jason Martin below a second now, 0.95 of a second, but it's not close enough. Foster is going to take the win here at Kansas Speedway. Jason Martin second, Michael Skurlock in third place. Stevie Dubb, meanwhile, manages to just make it past Josh Micklemore in the end and make it into P6 behind Joshua Carroll-Walden in P5.
Andrew Dyson coming home in 8th, Danny G in 9th, and Raymond Yeager finishes in the top 10. Good performance from him, with Matty Ray in 11th, Daniel Heddersheed rounding out 12th position. But it was Edward Foster who managed to manage the race well all the way through and take out a very timely win. So is that just his second win of the Cup season total, Carl?
It is, but crucially, it's his second win in the chase as well. In the
chase, that's it. Yeah. So
we saw it last year from Foster. He's kind of a chase camel. He saves it all up for the chase and then has it all happen there. So Foster takes out the victory, is going to do a few burnouts and absolutely wreck those rear tyres. Possibly do a lap of honour here, but a well-deserved victory for Foster. That was a solid strategy from him. He used that undercut to its advantage, and it paid off completely because, Martin definitely had the pace over Foster tonight, but Foster had the strategy perfectly right.
Yep, and that sometimes is all that you need. And he's parked the 53, top of the hill there, and we'll just wait for Foster, Martin and Skirley jump into the green room, ready to have a chat with us at the end of this one. And while they do that, I'll have a quick look at our week next week. We aren't broadcasting Monday night. We are having the night off, so we're going to miss the penultimate round of the trucks, but we'll bring that to you in a highlights package throughout the week. We're back on Tuesday night with the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. We get into the second of our wild card rounds, which is going to be interesting, and then follow that up with the final round of the Thunder Series, which will decide that championship. We head to Phoenix, the rejuvenated Phoenix, as well, for 112 laps before Thursday night, once again returning with the Cup, where we head to Martinsville for a 150 lap race. So plenty to come next week as we make our way towards the end of season 2021 across the entire ANZCAR category. Plenty to look forward to still, though. The championship in the Thunder Series very much alive. Things in the chase only getting more interesting as well. So plenty to look forward to next week on the channel.
Yeah, always an exciting week to come. We'll be looking forward to that. Never know. Might take the night off on Monday, or might do something else. So we'll see how that goes. But
well, Carl, I'd be expecting to see you in the truck, mate. To be brutally honest, I'm expecting to see that.
Well, I won't make any promises, but it may happen.
We're just waiting for Jason Martin to join us, and he has just done that. So let's grab everyone down into the booth for a chat with the podium here third last round of the season, and another classic race. Carl, take it away.
Yeah, so we will start off with the third place finisher, a very strong drive, making up 7 positions in the end from one Mr. Michael Skurlock. Welcome back to the booth, Mr. Skurley, and a good race from yourself.
Hello. Thank you.
Pretty happy about that, I take it?
Yeah, pretty happy. I don't practice. I pulled out a lap and I thought I might be able to replicate that in qualifying, but I don't know what went wrong in qualifying. So, yeah, I'm happy to move up because this track it's really, really hard to pass. And when you do make a pass, you either have to be real, aggressive with it and, block past people, or you got to have way better tyres. So I'm happy to move up that much and hold it, to be honest. So, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest track to pass on, but you did manage some good passes throughout the race. We saw you having some good battles throughout the field, and especially that last pass on Hamish. That one came together quite well for you.
Yeah, well, I got to apologise to me spotter there. I had a couple of spotters in my ear, and they were doing some sums in the background, some algebra, and sounded like they were trying to find out the meaning of the universe there, but no, they were just trying to halve how many laps were left. It took him a long time to do that. One guy might be Double D saying pit on up 82. And I was like, I don't know. And then another guy, might be Mirko, said 92. And I was like, uh-oh. I go 85. And then they go, no, 92. And I'm like, all right, I'll go 92. Edward went in at 82. And look where he ended up. He was miles ahead. So I should have followed what Dave said.
Yeah, you've learnt your lesson. Don't trust Mirko. Only at the one track, though. I mean, one track a year, Mirko will get it right. So when that happens,
he's got 200 starts now.
He has
25 finishes.
And 1 win.
He's 2 wins. He'll call you out on that. He's got 2.
Congratulations on the podium, Scully. Obviously, this is going to help for the old championship standings. I mean, you managed to finish ahead of Hamish and Josh Micklemore, of course. So that's good news for the chase.
Yeah, it's good news, but you know what I mean. If you know up top, where are you? And the guy who won it is the guy we're trying to keep off the top. So good on him.
Easier said than done sometimes, that one.
Yeah, no, he did well. He did well to pull away and stay out there or not.
No, look, congratulations on P3, Skurley. Always a pleasure to have you in the booth. Before I let you go, the usual thing is shout out and love to all the sponsors and people in general.
Yeah, shout out to one of the bandits. The other one, I don't know, he knows how to park a car in the middle of Martinsville and take the whole track up. He's me and Murky. I love him. And you guys for putting on the show. And Edward for winning, and Jason coming second. And everyone was good, clean race. So, yeah, well done.
Always a pleasure, Matt. Mr. Scully, thanks for coming up in the booth. I'm sure we'll catch you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Next up, we will head to the second place man, Mr. Jason Martin. Jason, congratulations on that P2. You looked very fast out there tonight.
Thanks, mate. Finally had a bit of luck in a race and didn't turn to crap. So, yeah, I was pretty confident on a long run, and we got lots of long runs, so I was happy with that. But, no, Ed was too good. Timed the pit stop perfectly and got the win, and good on him. Great drive.
Yeah, we saw you catching him down at the end there, trying your best to close that gap. And obviously, easier said than done here at Kansas. You couldn't quite make up the time needed.
Yeah, I think I took it a bit too easy the first 5 or 10 laps on the restart, and after my pit stop, and he pulled a massive gap, and just too much. Needed about 10 more laps to get there.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, are you kicking yourself a little bit for staying out that bit longer on the pit strategy? Do you feel like you should have come in a little bit earlier in hindsight?
Yeah, I definitely should have pitted the lap after him, but I thought, no point pitting just 1 lap after. Let's wait a couple more and try and get a bit better tyres, but wrong idea.
Definitely looked like the tyre drop-off wasn't as severe as some other places tonight, and that cost you in the end, but still a good finish for yourself. And obviously, you know, we're getting towards the tail end of the chase now, so that's going to be something that's going to be good for you, obviously, getting into the final couple of races with 2 to go now. It's going to be a tight battle for you, and you, Edward, and Hamish.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much out of it after the last 3 races. They were absolutely crap. So, yeah, I've pretty much given up now. So I'm just fighting for scraps.
Well, you fighting for those positions is going to be scary because we know how fast you can be. Look, good luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll catch you in the booth soon. But before I let you go, the usual shout out and love for sponsors.
I got to thank the boys at Mitch Motorsports. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't do any practice. And so, yeah, thanks for them for keeping me entertained and keeping my mind on the job. BK Designs, ANZCAR putting on the great league. All the best drivers want to race here. And you guys for the broadcast, and well done out on the win, kicking ass.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm sure we'll catch you in the booth before the season's end in one of the series at least, but have a good rest of the night.
Cheers, mate.
And next up, taking his second win in the chase, Mr. Edward Foster. Congratulations on that fantastic pit strategy call and great victory here at Kansas.
Thanks a lot.
So that strategy, that worked out very well for you in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it looks like it did, doesn't it? Like, it was one of those where Jace, like, you know, we know how quick he is, and he had really, really good long run pace. I don't think anybody could actually live with him. And when he sort of came up to me and started playing with the lines and everything, I mean, I can't even figure out how he got that bottom line to work. I couldn't make it work, and you know, he was trying to sort of manipulate where I was going, and I was trying to sort of second guess that and everything. But the good thing about racing with Jace is, you know, we raced each other for so many years, and there's that much respect between us now. You know, we know we can do that kind of thing, and we don't touch, you know, whereas a lesser guy might have just sent it in underneath and pancaked me up into the wall. You know, he's not going to do that. So it just gives you the confidence to kind of run a little bit harder and a little bit closer and have a bit more fun. And it was fun. And I was just trying to learn as much as I could, watching him sort of trying to work that bottom line and sort of figure out where the advantages of that were, where the disadvantages were. And then finally I just made a small mistake, lost a bit of momentum, and Jace got me and Neil got me. And I thought, all right, well, I'll run for another couple of laps and see what happens, and I'll come down and see how that works out. And it could have backfired spectacularly. You know, I've done the exact same thing early in the season and we ended up getting wrecks, but you know, it ran clean. We had no rookies trying to make names for themselves, smashing in the back of me or anything like that, and we got the job done in the end.
No, well, like, as you said, you raced Jason for a number of years, but he still managed to catch you out a little bit in that first stint with that first overtake, of course. Just getting you down there to defend that low line and catching you a good one.
Yeah, well, when you're behind, I mean, it's kind of good, like, when you're up behind, because you can sort of, you know, the guy in front's always kind of reacting to what you're doing, and you can sort of you've got a little bit more freedom to do what you want. And, you know, he's very good at that, as we know. And, yeah, I saw him sort of closing me down then in that last stint after I got a bit of a way ahead. And I just figured something out halfway through that last stint that sort of gave me what I needed to hold him off. Without that, I don't think I would have made it. So, or certainly you would have seen another battle like you saw at the end of the first stint with him sort of trying to run to the bottom and us, you know, running side by side off the turns, which probably would have been great for you guys, but I'm kind of happy the way it went.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't want that right towards the end and the crossing the finish line side by side. It's a bit of extra stress that you don't need.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, yeah. But I was kind of thinking about the race as well, and you guys in the booth and everything, because, like, from your end, I don't know what else was happening in the field, but from your end, you know, it was just a race with one caution in it. But I can tell you, like, running that long under green, running up by the wall, it's yeah, there's some concentration going on, man. I tell you, it's hard. So yeah, and just trying to manage the balance of the car and everything. So yeah, look, turned out okay in the end, so don't need to worry about it now. But yeah, there's definitely a few lessons I want to try and take from this race as well.
Yeah, don't worry. We had plenty of entertainment going on track, luckily. So We did not need cautions to make this one fun. Obviously, last question for tonight, but this has been a good result, especially as we come to those final 2 races for the chase.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not something I gave a great deal of thought to leading into tonight. Obviously, starting up front was pretty good. I didn't expect to get Jace early. I expected him to sort of settle in at the front. And then after we had a chance to run at the front, I'm kind of like, yeah, I really need that lap lead point. So went for that, and yeah, just held on and held on and held on. Led for a lot longer than I expected to, but sort of looking at practice and the way everything was going there, I really was kind of just thinking about how to score little extra points here and there because I wasn't actually expecting to come away with a win. So anyway, did do. It's good news for us, obviously. It's still close. There's a lot of guys still in it, but I'd rather be in my position than anyone else's, I suppose. So, yeah.
Look, that's it. I mean, the way you were talking yourself down at the beginning of the season, I mean, it's come good at the end. And hopefully that will remain the way for the next 2 races. Before I let you go, though, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors and people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, shouts out to everybody tonight. Everybody was good to race with, the guys that I did see, and shouts out especially to Jason. You know, he and I have had so many good races over the years, like sort of thinking back to that truck race at Indianapolis we had not too long ago and all the rest of that. Like, it's just so much fun racing him and guys like him. Like, that's what keeps us coming back. It's not winning races or, you know, titles, poles, anything like that. It's the good racing that you get, and racing those guys just makes it worth showing up every week. And on the admin side, it makes it worth putting the series on because you've got guys like that that just you know, put their best foot forward, don't act like idiots, and you can have really good racing with them. So that's really good. Shouts out to the Datari boys. They've been working real hard, and you know, they're always good to have just in your ear when you're racing along. So, yeah, shouts out to them as well. And, of course, the sponsors, Bridgestone Select Race Magazine, Two Fat Blokes, Ferguson Group Media, and AJ Insurance Services as well.
Thank you so much, Ed. Pleasure having you up here in the booth. Good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll get to chat to you again soon.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot.
So, Stuart, another race down, 2 left in the chase to go. It is very much the tail end of the season, and it is getting to that point where every point matters.
Yeah, absolutely it is, and that's certainly what Edward Foster was focusing on there in that discussion. So, but that makes it an exciting couple of weeks to go in the series, and looking forward to seeing that over the coming weeks. So, but for now, Carl, that is the end of our week. It is our Friday night on the stream. So, to everyone who tuned in this week and everyone who tuned in tonight, as always, thank you very much for supporting the stream. We greatly appreciate it, and I hope you will enjoy the weekend, and we will see you next week on Tuesday night for the Oz Pro Am Sim Series. And we look forward to catching you all then from FGM eCars, your E-Place for Pace. Thank you very much, and we will see you again.